Good morning, good morning. It's Junkano0o242. You are in the V Shack this morning, all tuned in. Guess what? We're getting closer to independence. Good morning, Family Island. Good morning, all of our Facebook viewers. Good morning, everybody that's tuned into us on the radio. Happy to have you guys this morning. Good morning, Arlene. How are you?
Good morning. How's it going?
Man, I was outside earlier today. I see the weather. It ain't too hot. I see no gray clouds. So this may be a perfect day to start, using some contact outside. What you
It's
think?
time to go. Independence only a couple days away, man. We gotta roll.
Boy, I gotta see if I can hook up something for independence, getting the roadie. I don't know.
Boy, listen, yeah, that could be the biggest one for the year so far. You better be ready.
Boy, if you ain't ready now, boy, you get left. That's all I have to
Amen.
say. Well,
Amen.
it's good. Well, Arlene, I think we come up with a plan that can knock these people off their feet for this topic today. If you got somebody that needs to tune into the show, you better tell them now. Okay, Arlene, let's get started with our prayer before we dive into the meat.
Absolutely. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, for the gift of life, we give you thanks. For our nation, we pray for peace, progress, and prosperity, recovery, and restoration. And for ourselves, we pray for wisdom to use your gifts wisely, especially the gift of Junkanoo, so that we may honor you, serve your people, build better communities, a better Bahamas, and a better world. Amen.
Amen. Proud to be Bahamian.
Well, this must be a record because this is the second week, I think, in a row that my proud to be Bahamian has to do with our engineer. And Ronald Sims,
Hold on,
I
you didn't get
saw
payoff?
sound like big bucks to me. I saw a photograph on Facebook. The team of Bahamians that put together the tribute to Sir Sidney Poitier a few days ago. And from all accounts, it was spectacular. Even the most vocal of critics on Facebook had nothing but praise.
Oh
And
wow.
so we want to congratulate. Now, let me see if I could remember everybody. It was Ronald, Fred Ferguson, Philip Burrows, and Adrian Archer. Ronald, I have it right?
You have it right, but there was one missing from that photo.
Mm.
Uh-huh.
Patrice Francis, who was responsible for the script and did an amazing job on giving us the meat to work with.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Darren Bastian will be joining us shortly, but let me say this loud enough so that he can hear that the best man for the job, and I'll leave it right at that.
Oh, why tell you that? Why tell you? But I had to give Patrice credit because she was missing from that photo. I don't think she was there on the night.
Yeah,
Brilliant writer.
truly,
Brilliant.
truly.
And fortunately, we will have the pleasure of working with her again, the same team, for the Independence presentation next 2 weeks.
Oh my, wonderful. And a lot of people don't know Patrice Francis or her gifts, but they, without realizing it, they know her voice from
Mm.
the Commonwealth Bank commercials.
Okay, okay.
Yes, yes. And so we just want you all to know we're very proud of you all. You know how Junkanoo thinks. Come tough or don't come at all.
Don't come
And
at
let me
all.
tell you something. The Junkanoo closing of that event was outstanding. Really
Wow.
outstanding. I think it was the One Family Junkanoo group, and they
Okay.
really outstanding. The music was on point. The costumes were fabulous. It was a great job
Wow.
by.
Wow. And coming from a valley boy, that's double the points, the brownie points.
I Arlene, I would tell you this, not even because he's involved. The standard and quality that he has behind production to
Yeah.
get a compliment like that is,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
resounding. and hands
Yeah,
off to the guys that were able to pull off such a production.
that's right. That's right. And even the most vocal critics of Junkanoo on Facebook had nothing but praise for the presentation, including the comments about how the brass was in tune and all kind of things. We tired hearing complaints about the brass. And this was one time that we didn't. And so, Ronald, thank you and the team for everything that you do to make us proud. And we are looking forward to independence.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Thank you.
My God, we almost in Rawson
No,
Springs.
no. You see, I was here. I listened to every single thing. I didn't have anything to say when you came with your snide comment about the best man. Ronald, let me defend our honor for just a minute. There were 3 men.
4.
See, let's see 4. And being the gentlemen that we are, we allowed a lady to join us. We allowed a lady to join us. We don't want to take everything for ourselves,
Why?
Chivalry ain't dead. Chivalry is not dead.
Not dead and gone.
They're not dead.
Excellent.
So to the ladies,
Yeah.
we like you all in our company.
Stay cool. Stay cool.
Ronald, I saw you the other day, and I definitely had to congratulate you on that, you and your team. I think you did an outstanding job, an amazing job.
Yeah.
An amazing, and thank you for your comments on One Family. We truly appreciate that, because if it wasn't so, you wouldn't have said it.
No, he would not.
We have to get beyond this one family valley.
Very true.
Yes. Yes.
Good. You got to give the people the compliments, man. You got to sing.
That's good.
You're right.
I just want
to. You would not believe that is exactly what we are talking about this morning.
But I will certainly pass on the congratulations and your comments to the rest of the team. Thank you very much.
Yes, and also pass this on my behalf, please. The ZNS has been doing outstanding work from way beyond in terms of capturing and documenting a lot of our history and a lot of things that you guys are doing presently with tributes. Please do not let these things just die in the archives. We need to see them on air over and repeatedly. You have productions, even like with the visit with the Duke and all of those, the work that went into these productions. We need to see these stuff again. There needs to be a YouTube channel where you could go and see this over and repeatedly and have access to it and not just have to wait. Whereas if you think on viewing it, you're doing a phenomenal job. Keep on doing it. Get it out to the public. Don't let the work just die in the archives.
Yeah. You are absolutely right, because like during the day, if you are surfing through the channels and you flick to ZNS, there's always something very educational, very informative about the comedy. We need to be able, I need to say to my children, if we missed something, I need to say, we'll go to YouTube. I want you to see this. It's important. And I totally agree with you. ZNS is understated and underrated in many ways. So Ronald, pass on our congratulations to everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we are going to run to our first break, as is our custom. We have an open line this morning with a very controversial question we're going to pose to you, and we're going to talk about, and we want Ronald Sims right up in it. And so please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to get the show started.
You scared of?
Grammy, if I tip off the police and somebody find out,
Ain't nobody gonna find out. Crime Stoppers ain't the police. They just does works with the police.
same difference.
No, boy, with Crime Stoppers, you're safe. When you call their number at Mr. Bahamas altogether and go directly to Miami or Toronto, Canada, ain't nobody gonna know your voice or that you name Bertram or that you live down the alley.
Grammy, you realize you IDing me right now?
Boy, I raise no criminal. If you see what gone down, call Crime Stoppers. They get no personal info. They just give you a PIN number.
So how you know so much about them?
How you think your uncle get a Fox Hill?
You serious?
If he won't be canned, I able to turn him in.
So uncle know you was a snitch?
Crime Stoppers ain't never could tell nobody. And for top info, they just give you cash.
You get paid and all?
You eating good, right? The light's still on, eh?
Grammy.
Wait your man up. Stop the crime before it's your time. Huh?
Call 328-TIPS or from the Family Islands 242-300-TIPS.
This public service announcement was brought to you by Crime Stoppers in conjunction with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
Respect the sign. When vehicles without an accessible parking permit use a parking space designated for persons with disabilities, even for just a minute, that's 60 seconds too long. The abuse of accessible parking spaces is a daily frustration for persons with disabilities. It is inconsiderate, insensitive, and hinders persons with disabilities from effectively conducting business and actively participating in community life. Never park in a space reserved for people with disabilities unless you have a permit to do so. It is the right and respectful thing to do. This message is brought to you by the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, a unit in the Ministry of Social Services and Community Development. For more information, visit www.disabilitiescommissionbahamas.org.
From the Junkanoo archives on the Junkanoo timeline, the year was 2002. In an unprecedented move, the College of the Bahamas School of Social Sciences, in conjunction with Edinburgh University of Scotland, hosted a 4-day symposium on religion and Junkanoo, another significant milestone on the Junkanoo timeline.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The whistle blow. We are lined up and we're ready for this segment of our show. This is the rollover. And, you know, we are basically 2 weeks out from independence. We thought this morning we would take a break, take a pit stop, and just reflect on some things that are happening on where Junkanoo is. And so we decided that this morning, you will be our guest. This is an open line show. And here is the trigger question that we want you to respond to. That's a bad word to use. Here is the trigger question. Is competition more harmful than beneficial to Junkanoo? That's our first question. And we are going to branch off from that into every conceivable direction, including whether or not Junkanoo groups have obligations to do other things like community outreach, like character development, like personal development of their members, like passing on certain skills in Junkanoo to make sure this unique tradition does not die. All of that comes out of the question, is competition more harmful than beneficial to Junkanoo? So we want to hear what you feel about this. They call it these hot button topics. And so DF, kick right in. Oh, and oh yes, thank you so much, Ronald. The numbers to call from New Providence, 325-5404 is our working line. 325-5404 if you are in New Providence. If you are in our beautiful family of islands, good morning. You may reach us at 242-300 talk TALK 8255 1242-300-8255, and you could push them pennies back in that brown paper bag under the under the mattress, because it's toll free. You ain't paying a penny, so don't bother to get out. I'm looking for them pounds, shillings, and pence, which you still got under the mattress in that brown paper bag. And so we would love to hear from you, but that's what we're talking this morning. And so Darren Farrington, you started off with some very you had some very powerful comments about this. Tell me in one word, yes or no. Do you believe competition is more harmful than beneficial to Junkanoo?
At this
Be
present
very
juncture,
careful, because anything that you say may be used to discriminate you.
at this present juncture, yes. And I preface that by saying, when I sit down at the table and I look at how I approach different projects or how I would approach a task or a challenge, one of the things you have to look at is, what are you trying to accomplish? And what is the end goal? And if the end goal is now only to quote unquote to win, right? Is to compete within that competition. Some things are lost. And some of those things are lost. Some things is quote unquote in our direct area, I would say is, are we trying to win now, or are we trying to win 4 years from now? Are we just trying to win now, or are we trying to put a system in place that will sustain our win? And I would say that by answering this, by saying this. What are you talking about, D? I'm talking about, yes, you can win on Bay Street now, but how do you duplicate it the next year if you did not put mechanisms in place? If you did not build skill sets of people in your group to continuously be up to par, then next year you're back at zero. And so my goal is, for me myself, is I think organizations need to rethink or say, you know what, it should not only be about winning. It should be about, okay, equipping people with the necessary skills. When we had the drummer on, I think it was Kim, he talked about how he was able to win music over and repeatedly. He started to duplicate himself. He trained more drummers. He was not the star. He had 4 and 5 people that could carry his drum line that was there with him. He was not the magic. What we're looking at now is, we see where groups are quote unquote what we say drafting people or contracting people that in areas where they feel that they are weak in, instead of building in those areas so that they can sustain it. And so the competition is driving them to say, you know what? Okay, if we can costume it, we can contract the person to do the costume. We're not gonna put workshops or put things in place for our members to learn how to do it. And so I have observed that the competition now is causing that type of attitude to happen, where we see what happens now is, when the contractor leave next year, you have a group that is void of costume construction. You know what I mean? Just as simple as that. When we look in music right now, when we look in the music area, everybody is, okay, you need this big brass or this big sound to win. And on the back end, do we have workshops, or do we have training for people that's able to, like we said when we had Mr. Barton on, to beat different beats, to carry different tones in the drum line? And all of these things, the competition is causing these unique features to now be overshadowed, and in some instances, they are endangered of being wiped out. Because the end goal for most organizations is just to win.
Wow. Wow. That's a mouthful. Now, let me, just before we dive into the points that you have made, some very critical points, let me just say that to the best of my memory and my knowledge, we have been preaching this on Junkano0o242 from the first show that Junkanoo is so much more than a parade and a competition, that Junkanoo reflects the spirit of the people of the Bahamas, a people who had such strong wills and determination to survive that they were able to celebrate in some of the darkest moments known to man, chattel slavery. We always talk about that. To the best of my knowledge and memory and what I have read, the indiscriminate moving around at Christmas time, once Junkanoo moved from the agrarian areas, from the farms, and started to move into the town, there was an indiscriminate up and downing at Christmas time all over the place at any given time. And so, if memory serves me correctly, it was in 1899 that the government introduced the Street Nuisances Act, which specified 4 times that Junkanoos could be on the street: Christmas Eve in the evening, Christmas morning, New Year's Eve, and New Year's morning. They found that the evening parades were, the evening sessions, I should say, were poorly subscribed. And so Junkanoo then found its temporal home, its home in time, in the early morning hours, initially of Christmas Day and New Year's Day. And when the religious leaders complained about all this riotous, raucous, I'm sure they consider it to be heathen behavior, Junkanoo was moved from Christmas to Boxing Day. Boxing Day was made a public holiday. The point I'm making is this: we had some competition offered in the 1920s during the bootlegging era. There were many visitors here who came to drink because prohibition was in effect in the United States. And the government at that time decided to offer prizes to encourage the Junkanoos to come out, okay? The same thing happened in 1948. After the Burma Road riots, Junkanoo is suspended, all street parading. The Citizens Masquerade Committee is given permission to have a trial parade January 1st, 1948, and we know that Junkanoo, with few exceptions, continued on Bay Street since then. They too decided to offer prizes to encourage the Junkanoos to come out and to encourage participation. So the historians can correct me if I'm wrong, but I get the impression from what I read that the competition wasn't started so much by the Junkanoos, although there was a rivalry there, and Junkanoo in the 30s and 40s could actually be dangerous, even though there was a rivalry there. We coming from the east and you coming from the west, and boy, when we meet you all, we fling them cowbell up in the air, and if you get caught, too bad. So we know that element was there. Excuse me, but the formal competition started in 1948 because the Citizens Masquerade Committee saw this as an opportunity to increase and to uplift Junkanoo. And so I guess what I'm saying is the reason why we have competition is to me not beneficial to us. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I'm being clear, but it's other people having a motive, and the word manipulation is a strong word, okay? But that's how I feel about the competition.
I've been quiet about I've been listening to everybody here. Let's try this position on. I don't think competition is bad. I think it's the manner in which we compete and what it is that we're competing for.
Gotcha.
Right? If we are competing to just win at any cost without a clear mission for moving forward in a positive manner, then to me, that's different than competing with the ultimate goal of bettering our craft, bettering what it is that we do, and understanding more about why we are doing it. You see? But just to compete, quote unquote, in a random manner, to me is a dangerous place to be. But on the other side, if we look at it, this is how we want to grow this. We want to expand our level of creativity in a particular direction that helps to build Junkanoo and sustain it. Then for me, I'm all in. At this present time, I believe that the manner in which we are competing does not augur well for the future of Junkanoo in my mind, because it's been at all cost. Forget everything that we really know. We just want to be out there. We want to win. If it takes whatever to win, and it goes against what we know Junkanoo to be, then look here, that's what we got to do to win. Then we can do that. That's the position I think that we're in at this current point in time.
Wow. And Bastian, I think you're correct, and I want to go on. I want to go on record and say that I don't think the competition is bad, right? I think where we are in this juncture, the competition is bad. What I think even lends to that is this. I think, and I want to say this correctly, I think a lot of the participants and the organizations involved in the competition do not have strong guiding posts or mission statements or objectives of organizations, whereas the competition manipulates them to do things that, quote unquote, had they had these things, they would not find themselves doing.
I was in a conversation yesterday with a childhood friend and brother of mine, right? And we had a fairly long, lengthy discussion about the atmosphere or the environment. That's what I want to use, the word I want to use. The environment that we grew up in Junkanoo. And we were talking about the shack that we grew up, that we pretty much were groomed by. And that shack is Taylor Street, that's Gay shack, right? And I said to him, I said, wait, listen, understand what happened through there at that period in time. I said, looking back at it now as a much more seasoned Junkanoo, I have a better appreciation for it, because to me it was a university, right?
Yeah.
And by that I mean because there was a process for us to get to the point that we are now in Junkanoo, right? You started by cleaning the shack. Then you start by loosening the paper from there. Then you had to learn, first of all, you had to go and buy your shares. Then you had to learn how to cut paper properly, right? To this day, you can still cut, right? Then you learn the art of fringing, right? You learn the art of fringing. Then you learn color, how to place color, you learn color, right? And then if you wanted to, you learn construction, or if you wanted to, you learn how to beat the drum, ring the cowbell. All of these things you had access to based on what your level of interest, or if you wanted to learn how to dance, to do that, right? All of those things we had access to, because there was someone there or people there who willingly taught, right? And at the time for us, it was just what Junkanoo was. That's what and now looking back at it, that's a part. And then we had a better appreciation, and all of that gave us a better appreciation for the art form, for this thing we call Junkanoo. Now, his position, and he's right. He said, Man, but nobody teaching. I say, well, nobody teaching that, and that is absolutely correct. But who is not teaching? We probably didn't do a good enough job in teaching enough people. You know what I mean? So the system or the process has changed. It has gone far left, right? It has changed. So now ain't nobody coming in the shack. Few people come in the shack to clean the shack. You got to pay someone to do that now. Who cares about learning how to cut paper? Who cares about learning how to French? Who cares about, well, you know, this is how you match color, right? Who cares about that? Big man, I come to get out, I going to buy that whatever that is they use. Bring me my glue gun, spread the costume out. I put one of this, couple stones.
Street devil, so be it.
Boss, I am on bait. What process? No process. And what you get? You buck up.
Folks, we're going to run to our first break. When we come back, we're going to stick right there for a minute, Bastian. You're listening to Junkanoo0o242. We'll be right back.
What you hear on this radio station is governed by IRCA's Code of Practice for Content Regulation. The Code of Practice covers matters relating to program content that are of concern to the community, such as local content, news, current affairs, and programs for children, advertising, including political advertisements, and the responsibilities associated with broadcasting in the Bahamas. The code also covers aspects such as access services for the hearing and visually impaired, and the procedure for lodging a complaint about anything broadcast by this station. The code is available on the IRCA website at www.ircabahamas.bs. To receive a copy of the code by mail or in person, you may telephone IRCA at 242-393-0234. Family Island dialing is toll-free at 1-242-300-8722, or you may send a request by email to info@ircabahamas.bs.
It's in-depth, it's personal, and sometimes it's even hilarious. It's Behind the Artist, the show that features Bahamian artists and their music. Saturdays at 2 p.m. Behind the Artist with the one and only Hope Shelley-Ann. Saturdays at 2 p.m. on 1540 a.m. Power 104.5 FM, the national voice of the Bahamas.
Saturday evenings will never be the same again. A show for young people, made by young people. The Youth Perspective, where we seek to positively display the youth of our nation. This and every Saturday at 8 p.m. on 1540 a.m. Power 104.5 FM, the national voice of the Bahamas.
From the Junkanoo Library, filed under M for Manual, the Manual of Costume Construction, a beginner's guide to Junkanoo design by Dr. Emmanuel Francis, is a concise and illustrated journey through the intricacies of Junkanoo costume construction today. We applaud Dr. Francis and all others who are expanding the body of Junkanoo literature that we will leave in place for future generations. Our Junkanoo. Be sure to write your own story.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Junkanoo0o242. The whistle blow me lined up, but now it's time for our voice slap. And boy, I tell you, we having a hot discussion this morning. We talking competition. Is it more harmful than beneficial to Junkanoo? And DB made an interesting point, because when we talk about more harmful than beneficial to Junkanoo, what are we talking about exactly? And so we are going deep. And if you want to call us, we would love to hear from you. Please call us if you're in New Providence. 325-5404 is our working line. And if you are in our beautiful family of islands, 1242-300-8255, toll free. And of course, we are getting some fabulous comments from Facebook. I gotta read this one. Let me see if I could find it. You know, I can't chew gum and walk at the same time. But somewhere along the time,
and yes, hey, 1 second, please, First Lady. She can't chew gum and walk at the same time. We're all about bragging, but the best man, you see?
But the job is a woman.
The guys can multitask. But anyway, but anyway, I digress. Go ahead, Mom.
Don't stop, man.
Boy, I definitely annoyed with you. You ain't letting that rest, Bala. You ain't letting that rest. Okay, I'll accept that. I wanted to highlight one of Slippery's comment, and thank you for participating, Slippery. I find this so scary. Tell me if you all agree with this. He says, if we take competition out of Junkanoo, there won't be any Junkanoo. Now, I find that as scary as could be. What y'all think about that? That's all Junkanoo is now, competition. That's all. That's the only reason why we out there.
Slippery is my boy now, but I don't know if I agree with Slippery. I don't know if there won't be any competition. I believe we'll have some gaps. What do I mean by that? I believe that a great percentage of the younger people are only driven by the competition in Junkanoo because that is all that they know, right? And watch how I word that, the competition in Junkanoo, right? Because that's all that they know. Some of us see it as something a lot deeper than just going to Bay Street to compete for a prize. In my mind, I think we're actually doing a disservice to ourselves. But I don't know if I totally agree with Slippery on that one.
We got somebody on the phone. Let's go to the phone lines. Good morning, you're on Junkano0o242.
Hello.
Good morning, hello.
Hi. Good morning.
Go right ahead, we can hear you.
Arlene, this is Diana. How are you doing?
I think she stepped away for a second, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So I can speak?
Yes, go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to thank the gentleman that for his love and passion of Junkanoo and the book. But I wanted to tell him that when cultures begin to fold and you become a pallbearer, then this is what is important. This is what's most important, is that there is at least somebody ringing the bell saying, watch out, we're losing it.
Mom, can you repeat what you said, please?
Now, in terms of what I personally remember of Junkanoo, because I think if you go into the children that grew up when Junkanoo was Junkanoo, you might see that that love for Junkanoo was embedded in something that was mysterious, exciting, energizing. From an adult point of view, I'm aware that it is a pagan festival. It was a celebration of all these different slaves who did not speak the same language, and they found one common language: the drum, the music, and the dance. And that's what we should be remembering. The shack, to me, though I've never been, is a temple. It's the temple where you become an initiate. You reconnect to your tradition. You honor those ancestors that came that middle passage, that danced and sang to survive. You learn what they brought over with them that you've brought into a new being, but you're keeping that connection, that vibrant connection alive. In my opinion, competition is something entirely different. Junkanoo is a salt. I mean, it's every traditional culture in the world during solstice, harvest, they celebrate life, the renewal of life. And we were in that when we were planting the maypole and doing Junkanoo. A festival that becomes a parade that is not connected to the traditions of people, that universal flow of energy. It's not, it can't really live and be what you want it to be. Because if you travel and you go to other people's festivals, that's the time when people come out, they shed their worries, they reconnect with their community, they remember their ancestors, and they dance their way into the new year. And so how do you bring that back? You can't bring things back, but the source of that remains within us. It is there. It's a seed. We carry it. All you can do is pass it on to the new generation. Take children, have them live the shack. Have them really experience it, what it is. And some of them will go. The scrap gang for me is something that is vital, because that scrap gang is what's left of the real thing. You know, and so the parading and the competition, it is beautiful. I enjoy it, but I know the danger that comes from making money from something that is supposed to be offered to your tribe, to your people, to allow you to live a new year with energy.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for calling.
Before you go, Mom, before you go, something you said to me, something you said was very profound. And that's why I was asking you to repeat it, because I wanted to make sure I heard it correctly. I believe you said, when you started to speak, you said that when cultures are folding, we need to know who the pallbearers are. Is that what you mean? Is that what you said, Mom?
Yes. It's important to go back into the community while it's still alive in the social memory. It's still in me. I remember Junkanoo. I remember standing on shoulders and looking, and I remember hearing the first cowbells. So what have we done? It's like anything. If you don't eat fruit in season, when you eat it, it doesn't have the same taste and ritual and meaning. Junkanoo has been watered down. We use it everywhere and everything. We are quite creative as Bahamians. We could have created other things. Junkanoo should have remained what it was. Twice a year, mysterious, and then the children get excited with those first cowbells, and something's happening. Something really exciting's going on.
Now, let me ask you a question. What in your mind is Junkanoo? What is Junkanoo?
Junkanoo to me is a celebration of life. It is my African ancestors who came over with that music in them, and every time I think of Junkanoo, I say this is what they did. They sang to survive. This is how God helped my ancestors through that middle passage for me to be here today. If I don't honor them, then everything they put into Junkanoo and gave me through the rhyming spirituals, through the whatever they were doing, then I am losing out. I will go crazy. I will be disconnected. I will be lost. I will be wondering.
If you had to say, or if it was your decision to determine what stays in Junkanoo and what goes from Junkanoo as we practice it today, what would those things be? What should we keep and what shouldn't we have?
I think that there's no way that we could perhaps stop that competition. But what I want is to see Junkanoo in my neighborhood. I believe that one of the things that we don't do is that we need to dance to Junkanoo. Junkanoo goes up and down in front of us, and the police are holding us back, and the barricades are holding us back, when it's all about joining in and becoming a part of. So if they have the competition, once the competition is over, open the barricades and let people dance the year in. Let them empty themselves of their worries, their concerns. Let them feel like they are one nation, one people, celebrating a Bahamian thing.
Do you believe the competition as it currently exists is good, or do you think it's bad?
I believe that the competition was a bad idea, but it is what it is. All right? If the competition has to go on, there has to be something that you spoke about. When you speak about Junkanoo, you're speaking about Junkanoo in its initiate form, in the seed of it. And this is what needs to be kept alive. So that if the competition goes on, there should be a parallel movement of bringing Junkanoo back into the neighborhood, where the shack opens, where children come in, where they're experiencing something ancestral.
I couldn't have said it better. I think you really hit the nail on the head with your opening statement when you spoke about the pallbearers. That has resonated with me.
Pallbearers, absolutely. Well, I personally am involved in saving the accordion for the same reason that you want to save these things. If we lose our link to ancestors, then there's no way we can energize and be recreative. And it is important to remember what they look like. The kinky hair, the lips, that is what we need to celebrate, not whiten, not thin, not be ashamed of, because they are the ones. That's what they look like.
You know, Mom, we have, and not to belabor your point, but we have this propensity to measure our success by wins on Bay Street. That's fine, I guess, right? But because that's our benchmark, right? But I definitely would like, and Frank, this is for you as well, and Arlene and Ronald, for us to take take a show or a number of shows and really dig deep into the things that we would have lost in the past 10 years,
okay, here we go.
20 years, 30 years. It would be interesting to see what we have lost and at what cost. Because we always focus on the win. But what have we lost as a result of some of those wins?
Well, you can see what we've lost. We've got a disconnected community. We've got people that don't know each other. The porch is gone. The porch is another part of our community.
Agreed.
That's where we met. That's where we saw who was going by. That's where we sat to chill in the evening. Okay?
Agreed.
So when we give up the very things, those ancestors were incredibly connected and smart. And they sent their children off to school, but those children, instead of coming back and lifting them up with their intelligence, they wanted to sort of move away and be as little African and as little this and as little that as possible. The land is holy, and everything it gives you life and energy. So how could you walk by it, throw garbage on it, not appreciate it? How could you watch mangoes on the ground and you know what I'm saying? So it means that you've totally disconnected from life and the meaning of life.
Wow, you've said a lot. You've said a lot. Thank you very much for your contribution, man.
Can you leave your phone number with Ronald for us, please? Thanks for calling.
Sure.
All right. Basti, and yes, she said a lot, and even to your point, there are some things that I have a different perspective on, or a different opinion on, in terms of she speaks about keeping it sacred and mysterious. And even to your point when you spoke about the shack growing up, I think what and Arlene always says is we're not losing these cultural stuff on the stage. We're losing it in the activity. My point is this. I feel as though organizations should have realized that one of the reasons their groups have become so successful is because of certain pillars. And one of those pillars is what happened in the shop. You understand? That university that happened in the shop. So I think that it will be in their best interest for them to identify that and magnify that. Hey, here's what happened in the shop. Here's where this tutelage happened. Here's where this mentorship happened. So we put in things as organizations to make sure that it continues to happen and it doesn't just not quote unquote happen happenstancely like we hope it will because we see what's happening. It's not. I think what we have to take responsibility for and what we have to be intentional about is actually teaching this. We say we value it, then teach it. How do you teach it? You have ongoing programs that happens in your shop on particular days. You cannot, the organizations, and I talk about Junkanoo groups in particular, there used to be quote unquote one leader that used to go to a sponsor and say, hey, we need this money to do X, Y, and Z. The group started to grow, so they say, you know what, we need to form ourselves better so we could get these monies or get the funds or get the supplies so everybody could be outfitted. So they organize themselves in that arena. We've seen everything else start to become organized, but guess what? We were not intentional about teaching the skill set, an ongoing process. We have not been intentional about that.
Watch this, right? Watch this. In villages, right? You eat when you kill, you go and hunt and you eat what you kill. Now, we don't have to do that anymore. We go to the food store and we buy what we want to eat. Here's the significance of that. The shack in my era, right? However you want to pronounce it, right? Was I liken it to a village. In that village, you were taught certain things. You were taught the rite of passage, so to speak, and you had to go through that rite of passage to get to a point, right? Now, the language of the village has changed. The culture of the village has changed. The shack is no longer what it used to be because it doesn't, we don't teach the same things. A lot of the traditions have shifted or have been lost. So we are now at a point where you have people, one set of Junkanoos saying, you know what, this ain't what Junkanoo is, or this ain't what I know Junkanoo to be. This ain't the shack, or this ain't the village where I was taught how to connect with this sacred thing, this ancient spirit, right? And then the new Junkanoos are saying, village, big man. My village a little different here. You know what I mean? With the language that you're talking about, I don't really understand that.
Because
I don't have to go through what you all went through, because, I'm more of a modern Junkanoo now. So there's that serious disconnect there.
I make this analogy, right? If we go back 10 years ago and you went to school, the way you went to school was totally different on how you go to school today. There's a lot more technology, but here's the underlying pinning. The principles are still taught, whether it's taught using more technology or less technology.
The language remains the same.
The principles is what is taught. We're not teaching principles. And what I mean is this: you still need to learn how to write, whether you go on different modules online and it teaches you through song and dance and all of these things. You're still learning the principle. We have not become intentional as Junkanoo organizations in teaching those principles. We are more concerned about getting the monies to go on Bay Street instead of securing property so we have a shack when we come off Bay Street. And so the skill sets that you need to win on Bay Street, you don't even have a place to practice them in. And so that's why I say we are not intentional in what we're trying to do. And that's why we see this dying craft. The kids are watching and saying, you know what is important? Getting to Bay Street. Not learning how to cut paper, cut cardboard, or how to cut paper. It's getting to Bay Street. If it was important, at least you would have secured a proper home that the organization owns, so this can continue to go for generations. So there needs to be a little bit more intention in terms of. I make another point in terms of I'll bring it up in the next after we come back from the break. All right, folks, you're listening on Junkano0o242. We'll be right back.
You saw Larry take the money off the teacher's desk.
Yes, Mom.
And you told the teacher.
No, Mom.
Why not?
Because Larry wouldn't want to be my friend no more.
Honey, Larry did something wrong and you need to tell an adult. You may feel bad, but it is important that you do the right thing. Nobody has to find out that you told.
Okay.
Small crimes lead to big crimes. If you see a crime, you can call Crime Stoppers. It's safe and easy, and nobody knows who you are. You'll speak directly to someone in Miami or Toronto, Canada. They never ask anything about you. So be brave and do the right thing. We all need to help. Stop the crime before it's our time.
Guess what, Mommy? I feel good because I told somebody about Larry and the teacher get our money back. So pick up the phone. No one will never call you a snitch.
Call Crime Stoppers Bahamas today at 328-8477 or from the Family Islands, 242-300-8477. It's safe, and the life you save may be your own.
This public service announcement was brought to you by Crime Stoppers in conjunction with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
The Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development, in conjunction with the National Emergency Agency, presents the 2022 official hurricane shelters for the islands of the Bahamas. Exuma, Bethel Union Baptist Church, Ramsey, Calvary Mission Baptist Church, Rollville, Ebenezer Union Baptist Church, Farmers Hill, Ebenezer Union Baptist Church, Barry Tarry, Exuma Resource Center, Hoopers Bay, Gethsemane Baptist Church, Black Point, Mount Hermon Union Baptist Church, Mount Thompson, Mount Sinai Union Baptist Church, Stuart Manor, Palestine Union Baptist Church, The Forest, St. Andrew's Community Center, Georgetown, St. Luke's Baptist Church and/or Airport Terminal, Black Point, St. Margaret's Anglican Church, Hearts, Steventon, St. Mary's Magdalene Anglican Church, Williamstown, St. Matthew's Union Baptist Church, The Ferry, St. Teresa's Catholic Church, Georgetown.
I mean, you're going to have to take her out. Examples of excellence. Philip Albert Kemp was a well-known mortician who established Kemp's Funeral Home in 1950 and continued to operate it until his untimely death in 1984. But his other passion was Junkanoo. And in the 1950s and 60s, Mr. Kemp was a fixture in the individual category of the annual Junkanoo parades, each creation garnering more admiration than the last. Mr. Kemp won many first prizes for outstanding costumes, like the old woman in the shoe and the clock. So fares his Junkanoo passion that one year He politely removed a double window from the front of his house because the famous Humpty Dumpty could not get out of the front door. Philip Albert Kemp, proud Junkanoo and icon in the individual division, this week's posthumous inductee into the Junkanoo0o242 Shack of Excellence.
Man, if you ain't serious with moving the double window, you ain't serious with getting the baby.
No.
No, you ain't serious. If you only got one dream book and that ain't King Tut, you ain't serious.
Mr. Kemp was a serious man, and this might be neither here nor there, and I mean no disrespect by it, but Mr. Kemp was a white Bahamian. And he had a passion for Junkanoo. I mean, those costumes were iconic. Everybody in my generation remember Humpty Dumpty and the old woman in the shoe and the clock. He really was phenomenal. And his wife told me that story about not being able to get the get Humpty Dumpty out of the front room. Boy, listen there, you all better get serious.
Remember last week when we had Dr. Nicolette Bethel here, she made a comment about the same thing you said about the white Junkanoos. Yes. I can't remember exactly what it was. She made a comment about that. So
yes,
see how history shows you the way.
Absolutely.
I just want to know, was his wife involved in the process of moving the window? I would like to know, what did she do?
What did she do before he moved the window? What she do after he moved the window?
Clearly she didn't have a choice in that part of the window.
I wanted to know, was she there with the hammer and the chisel? I need to know.
We got to get to Babala.
It would have been good to hear our side of the story. But before we went to the break, Darren, you and I think it fundamentally agreed on most of the same things about the principles about the principle and why we do what we do, right?
Yes.
But Slippery makes a point, right? And this goes back to something we said earlier. He said the Junkanoo season started by cleaning the shacks. That is gone. That is gone. That is gone now. Groups now have to pay people and pay members to clean the shack. And it looks bad. I'm just paraphrasing what you said. Right? And it looks really bad. You go into a shack and there's all that mess on the floor and people, just walking through it rather, to walking through it rather than cleaning it up. And remember earlier, I said a part of our job as we're coming up in the shack was to clean the shack. Don't come in this shack unless you clean the shack first.
We have to look at.
Our group gotta pay people to do that.
Why? No, see the question. I will try and answer that question. We have to look
principles have changed.
No, the principles
processes. Yes, Darren.
Hold on for me.
If you gotta pay someone to do something that you used to do for free, that's a shift, boss.
Okay, hold on. I'm not saying there haven't been a shift, but also what we need to do is we need to give credit where credit is, right? One of the things we need to realize is that a lot of these organizations lack principles, standards, and guidelines. Okay, you're a part of a fraternity. You're also a part of the lodge. There's certain standards that you have knowing before you even join this. The organizations that we call ourselves a part of in Junkanoo is that they have hardly none. There's no guiding posts. And there's no ongoing training that says, here's how we govern ourselves in the shop. Here's the process. You see what I'm saying? That is not taught. My point is that if you have particular standards and you have some type of ongoing program that says, here's what we do, here's what we not do. Here's what we expect of you, here's what we don't expect of you. And guess what? If you don't adhere to these standards that we have in place, we're going to ask you to leave.
I'll share a story with you, right? The shack that I work out now is the Pentagon, right? You're gonna find that most of the people in the Pentagon are over 30, Arlene?
30. Yes, easily. Right.
Watch this, Darren.
Call number, Arlene.
When we go, no, but whatever, right? When you go up there, it doesn't matter, Someone can pick up the broom and sweep, First thing, If it gets too cluttered with cardboard, you got a pile, throw it away, right? Go to most of these shacks now, where some of the younger people are. Boss, you waiting through paper that was there from last year. But that was there from last year.
But hold on, Darren, you
How
left
is that
out
okay?
the most. Listen here, the cleanup is the second step, or maybe the cleanup is the first step, and this is the second step. The first thing would happen is Rory Sanders to show up with a brew of Cersei and make everybody drink that to get our strength up for the season.
Okay then. All right.
Like I said.
And we used to that, right? We're used to that. We're accustomed to that.
Yeah, that was tradition. Yeah.
Okay then. All right then.
We cannot expect. Y'all say it all the time. You ain't born as grown as you ain't as, you just didn't grow overnight. All right. So my point is this: a child does not just grow up and then say, "Oh, I'm sweeping this." They did not learn these principles. There was no structure in place.
People on the same thing.
No, I'm not disagreeing, but here's what we look at and we say. A lot of people say, "Oh, we need to teach this here. We need to teach it there." Organizations need to teach it. That's who need to teach it. They need to teach it, and they need to have their guidelines. They need to have their structure.
Yes. Yeah, but let me tell you what I find to be the greatest irony. We want to win at all costs. Okay? That is the driving, that's Polaris, that's the North Star. That's our guiding light. We want to win at all costs. But here's the irony. The things we have put aside to win are the things that would make us win. Discipline, cleanliness, all of those things, eventually you establish a pattern of excellence that automatically translates into winning. So we have to learn, and forgive me because I'm in and out this morning, and so you all may have said this before. We cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. And so to me, when you talk about discipline, Darren, I got the piece about cleaning the shack and all that. When you get young people into a routine, a system, this is the way you do it. You do it properly. And you go back to being mentors. You don't have to be a teacher. You could be a mentor. Jackson Burnside, look at where Jeffrey Maris is now. He's an international artist. And the minute Jeffrey and the other young boys in that area showed up in the shack, Jackson's first question was, "You do your homework yet? And you finish your homework? You can't come in here unless your homework is finished." And those were the examples of excellence, like we say every week. Those were the examples of excellence that turned young men into brilliant artists that the world now recognizes.
Now, Arlene, watch this, right? Watch this. Watch how this translates. Take the comment that you just made when you spoke about Jackson, right? You do your homework yet? Then what happened as a result of a question this may not have been the driving force, but watch what else happened. One family then got into this thing with the X Club. So we went into the schools to see who were excellent. Right? Yes. We went into the schools to see who were excellent. So you say you're doing your homework. So that means now I got to see you in the X Club, right? Right? Then
imagine, stick a pin. I don't want you to lose your train of thought, but I could just remember when we went in to see our walker, and there was Greedy, who was a one family member and who was receiving an X pin standing for excellence. And imagine the power of your Junkanoo group coming to your school to reward you. I think as a child, that would have blown my mind. Coming to your school to reward you.
That is my point, right? So you asked him with the homework. Yeah, yes, I did my homework. So when we come into the schools now, we can see if you're on this excellence list. Yes, you're on this excellence list, right? Now if someone ain't got no homework you do, yeah, boss, you got homework you do, because now we got the summer school. So
Right.
it was a pattern of learning, right?
Yes.
And you're learning,
Yes.
and you're feeding your passion.
Yes.
You don't have
Well,
that
first of all, right, it was called the
anymore.
Warrior for Excellence Youth
Right.
Program, and
Right.
it started with the rush back to school in August. And once you brought your report from June, from the last school year, and you had an average over a certain percentage, you were rewarded publicly on Hay Street Park, and you might have been lucky enough to ride away with a spanking new bicycle or a laptop or a cell phone. It's just, and it was just a seamless way of integrating education with Junkanoo. And I just think we need to do more of it. I don't know if one family still does it, but we need to do it. And once we rush you back to school, gave you all your school supplies, rewarded you for what you did the last year, then that January, after we saw your first report for the first term, then we went into the schools, and that's when we rewarded you for continued excellence. And I just think Junkanoo groups have the power to do so much that we are not doing.
Here's how you change the culture.
Tell me.
And we've discussed it on this show before. You change the culture by changing by either changing or adding to the things we quote unquote compete for now. What do I mean by that? Okay, we compete to go on Bay Street and win a prize based on various categories: music, performance, whatever. You now say all of those things only count for a certain percentage of your overall point. The next side of this is, how much community work did you do this year? So we can evaluate you on that, right? That's another 30%, right? Then you say, I want you to say, bring us your 50 most achieved children. That counts for another 20% of what's left.
Well, you talking stupid now.
That's how you determine, that's how you change the culture.
And you do that, and you do that at the annual awards.
Exactly.
Then you offer this gigantic trophy and cash prize to the group that has done these things.
That's how you change the culture.
Wow.
Now, if you're mad enough, if you're mad enough, you can do it.
Yeah, I like that. You and the Junkanoo Awards is the perfect place to reward groups that do that. That's the overall.
And that's how you
prize.
That's where Darren, and forgive how I'm gonna say it, that's when you start to teach the ancient language again. You said principle, I was saying language.
Amen.
That's how you get back to basics.
There you go.
I finished. I gone for the day.
No, you ain't. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are running away to our final break. When we come back, we will have the news from off the shack wall. We'll have our closing comments. These gentlemen will check and see if you made any comments that we need to highlight before we leave, and we'll be right back.
Saw Larry take the money off the teacher's desk.
Yes, Mom.
And you told the teacher.
No, Mom.
Why not?
Because Larry wouldn't want to be my friend no more.
Honey, Larry did something wrong and you need to tell an adult. You may feel bad, but it is important that you do the right thing. Nobody has to find out that you told.
Okay.
Small crimes lead to big crimes. If you see a crime, you can call Crime Stoppers. It's safe and easy, and nobody knows who you are. You'll speak directly to someone in Miami or Toronto, Canada. They never ask anything about you. So be brave and do the right thing. We all need to help. Stop the crime before it's our time.
Guess what, Mommy? I feel good because I told somebody about Larry and the teacher get our money back. So pick up the phone. No one will ever call you a snitch.
Call Crime Stoppers Bahamas today at 328-8477 or from the Family Islands, 242-300-8477. It's safe and the life you save may be your own.
This public service announcement was brought to you by Crime Stoppers in conjunction with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
The Ministry of Social Services and Urban Development, in conjunction with the National Emergency Agency, presents the 2022 official hurricane shelters for the islands of the Bahamas.
Exuma, Bethel Union Baptist Church, Ramsey, Calvary Mission Baptist Church, Rollville, Ebenezer Union Baptist Church, Farmers Hill, Ebenezer Union Baptist Church, Barry Tarry, Exuma Resource Center, Hoopers Bay, Gethsemane Baptist Church, Black Point, Mount Hermon Union Baptist Church, Mount Thompson, Mount Sinai Union Baptist Church, Stuart Manor, Palestine Union Baptist Church, The Forest, St. Andrew's Community Center, Georgetown, St. Luke's Baptist Church and/or Airport Terminal, Black Point, St. Margaret's Anglican Church, Hearts, Stevenson, St. Mary's Magdalene Anglican Church, Williamstown, St. Matthew's Union Baptist Church, The Ferry, St. Teresa's Catholic Church, Georgetown.
And now for news off the shack wall. Happy birthday greetings to Kendra Campbell Moss, who celebrates today. And in the upcoming week, Vernon Non-Roll, Stacy Peterson, and to you and everyone who will celebrate their birthdays in the upcoming week. We wish you all a happy and a blessed new year. Condolences to the families of all who are grieving the loss of loved ones. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you. And we would like to say a happy anniversary to Mr. Jermaine and Mrs. Nakisha Turnquest, who will be celebrating on June 28th their Silver Jubilee, 25 years of being married to one another.
Congratulations, Aki and Mrs. Aki.
The Junkanoo
Aki and Mrs. Aki.
The Junkanoo Development Association, the JDA, in conjunction with the National Independence Secretariat, invites all Junkanoo groups and all proud Bahamians to celebrate our 49th anniversary of independence beginning on 12:01 a.m. on the morning of Monday, July 11th in Rawson Square, where 5 outstanding Junkanoos will receive the Independence Junkanoo Achievement Award. Immediately following the ceremony, the People's Love and Unity Rush will begin at the corner of East and Bay Streets. Wear your flag colors and let us get ready to celebrate. Happy birthday, Bahamas. The order of entry for the parade will be drawn right here on Junkanoo0o242 next week, Saturday, July the 2nd. The countdown. It is Saturday, June 25th, 2022. We are 26 hopeful weeks away from Bay and 15 days away from independence.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Junkanoo0o242. We are in the closing moments and we are having a wonderful conversation about competition and its impact on the growth and development of Junkanoo. And we have people who believe Junkanoo will die a quick death if there is no competition, and have the traditionalists like me who believe Junkanoo is far more than parade and competition, and people who only think that's what it is. We really still got some work to do. And so the debate goes on. But the important thing is that we are all participating not only in this debate, but in Junkanoo. And it is this kind of conversation and discussion that focuses on what it is we truly value about Junkanoo and what we need to continue to preserve it. And so we are most grateful that you all are here and taking the time to participate. This is ours and it belongs to us. We have turned it, we have moved it into the spectacle that it is today. And we have to take steps to protect it. We can't go along willy-nilly and just all that buck up goes, as my mother would say. And we, you know, Nicolette Bethel made a powerful statement last week when she was here that stayed with me. She said, there's a difference between change, evolution.
Yes.
Not all change is for the better. So you have changes, but that doesn't mean you're progressing. There's a difference.
Yeah.
And that was a powerful distinction she made. And we need to pay attention to that because I'm tired of hearing, man, we evolving, man, we moving on, man, Junkanoo wasn't the same. Junkanoo wasn't the same in the 50s and we move it forward. Well, you know, forward is a matter of opinion. And she made the point that a lot of things that we think are innovations actually were around before.
And forward in which direction?
Absolutely. And so we have a phone call, fellas. We are going straight to the phone lines. Hello, good morning.
Yes, sir. God bless morning to all.
Morning, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Sis, I heard you mention about winning at any cost a little earlier. Well, Mr. Darren Bastian and I spoke along those same lines at the 1st of March 2005.
Wow.
And our conversation was, at any cost, who will suffer because of the loss?
Right.
I can leave that with Darren so he could jog his memory so next week he could come back with something else.
My brother, I barely that old, you know. I can't remember these things no more, you know.
Well, during the week I can call you so I can jog your memory a little bit.
No problem, my friend.
We're talking about competition, and they say we like to follow. Several years ago, they started talking about the GOAT. Let's have a conversation about the GOAT of Junkanoo.
That's interesting. The greatest of all times?
Yeah.
Wow.
The GOAT. Man, that's all us, man.
Anyhow, I can let you finish.
You give us something to think about there.
Yes, sir. That's a good one. Thank you so much for calling. We appreciate that.
But before that was an excellent call. But before I forget, I also want to send get well wishes to Dwight Buddha-Roll, because you know he was shot the other day. And you know, at least he's still on this side of Jordan, and we still have him with us, because the conversation could have been very different. You know, so we just wanna pray for his speedy recovery as well.
Dwight role as in Parade's management team.
Man, that's the same one right there.
Lord, you know, this pestilence of violence and gun violence in particular is getting closer and closer. And Dwight, we just, like Darren says, we want to echo his thoughts. We are glad you are still with us. It must have been traumatic. And we are so sorry to hear that, but we are glad that you are recuperating.
Yeah, I got to speak to him last week, well, this week. So he's still in very, very good spirits. So that's good. That's very good.
Wow.
But Arlene,
you know,
go on.
No, I was going to say, I don't want to get carried away, but I was going to say that, you know, we seem to have a knack for wanting to copy the wrong things, you know, and there's this big debate going on in the United States now about guns because their constitution permits, gives, or the Bill of Rights gives them the right to carry a gun. Forget that was written in 1775, and they still holding on to that literally for their life. But you know, the what we see reflected here, you know, from other cultures, and I say yes, I say other cultures, because running around here shooting people like this is Dodge City, not the Bahamian way. It's not a Bahamian tradition, and it's disturbing. And so, you know, one of these days we need to have a conversation about our culture generally and the things we import from other cultures without even thinking twice. It's very disturbing.
Very. One of the things, you know, one of the things we spoke about, Arlene, when you were on your break, so to speak, was, and we had brought it up before on the show, because I think we should really also talk about this whole thing about what we have lost, you know, in Junkanoo over the past, say, 30, 40 years, just to see what that list really
looks like. Make a note. That's a good question.
What could be the possible impact of that as well?
Yeah.
And as a reminder, you know, we have the birthday of I got a blank just now.
Okay, I'm glad it ain't only me.
Margaret Finley, yes.
I am thrilled that it ain't only me forgetting all these things.
Happy birthday.
Oh yes, we want to wish Marguerite, yes.
Finley, happy 90th birthday tomorrow.
Oh my goodness, just as elegant and regal
you know she could be deaf
ever.
right out, right? You know she could be deaf right out.
Please. It's see, that's a perfect example of elegance, of excellence as a tradition, as a habit. And we certainly want to wish her God's richest blessing as she moved into her new year. You know, she gave the speech from the throne a few years back, and this is a good time for me to poke this in here. She referred to the African communities that ring the city, the town of Old Nassau. She called them heritage communities. And I wish we would pay attention to that and stop importing these, just another copy again, stop importing these American terms like ghetto and inner city that don't apply to us people at the highest levels who claim to be trying to help them and uplift them, are denigrating them with these insulting terms. And so I hope we follow her fine example in that and many other things that she has set excellent examples for.
Preach.
You say after that?
Gotta squeeze it in when you get the chance, man. I just hate to hear that inner city. And in the House of Assembly, you had them, but the inner city, don't call my community no inner city. You know, in the old days, and I know you all hear me say this, and the fellas say this in the old days, but they were referred to as the suburbs of Nassau. You know, when you talk down to people, they're going to live up to what you talk down to them about. And so let's start with positive language, and let's take it from there, man. The heritage communities, Baintown, Grantstown, separate, and they are separate settlements, by the way. Baintown, Grantstown, Delancey Town. You know, this is where the Quiet Revolution came from. This is where some of our greatest leaders emerged. You know, let's be proud, man. Let's call them what they are.
See, I think we get into this habit of thinking that nothing good comes from us.
Exactly.
And that's why we copy everything that is bad, because that's all we think we're worthy of.
Absolutely. And Darren, that didn't happen by accident, you know.
No. That
was a consistent campaign. We were taught that. That was a consistent campaign, and we got to get past it. Knowledge is power.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
So, DF, closing words before Ronald dropped the hatchet, the hammer right on us. Closing last words.
DF said everything you had to say, man.
No, man.
You all run the airport this morning, man.
I got a whole another 10 chapters.
I missed that. I gotta go listen to the tape now.
You all run the airport, man.
My closing remarks would be like, if everybody want to tell everybody that we launched our YouTube channel, Junkano0o242, so you can go on YouTube and you can see all the episodes there at your own leisure. And my closing remarks is that you teach what you value. And we need to stop waiting to think that it has to be in schools for us to teach it. We have organizations in place. Let's teach it from our organizations right from where we stand.
Excellent. You hear what Jackson Burnside say, drop your bucket where you stand. Chairman, closing words.
I just want to live in love, man. That's it.
Amen. That should be that. I don't think we need to say no more after that. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an absolute privilege having you in the ESHAC with us this morning. Next week, the Junkanoo Development Association is in here to talk about the Independence People's Rush. New time, some things have changed, but we'll still be on bay. And they also will be drawing the order of entry for the People's Rush. And so make sure you are tuned in next week again. And we thank you so much for your support. And remember now, as we leave, this is Junkano0o242. It's all about you, wherever you are in the 242. And until next week, God willing, start to get your independence shirts, colors together, and also show that we are all proud
to be Bahamian.
We'll see you next week.